Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite-Sized Podcast. We're here to review the 2-2 game at the Etihad, full-time, raw feelings, just wrapped up the match literally 30 to 45 minutes ago. I'm, of course, FPL Nima, and you'll notice I'm joined tonight by my co-host at BobbyLoveFPL on X. Good to have you here, Bobby. I've been trying to avoid talking to you about the result, just so we can review this game and come into it straight in the moment. I don't know if you feel positive, negative, but yeah, well, welcome to the channel. Let us know how you're
Yeah,
feeling.
thank you. It's good to be on the other side after listening to you and Clayton on Monday mornings on the travel into work. I'm feeling calm actually after the game. I would have took a draw before the match kicked off, so to have taken that 2-2 draw is actually okay despite how it happened at the end. So be interesting to see how you feel as well.
Yeah, I think definitely in the context of things, and we'll talk about the kind of the match report and the red card incident at half time. It definitely feels like we should be happy overall. I think it's just the manner of the way it ended, with it being like pretty much close to the last kick of the game, is it's always going to make you left longing for what could have been, I think.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope we don't regret that come May time next year.
Yeah, that's very true. Cool. I think before we go too much into like the data side of things and looking at the match graphics that we love to do, just thought I'd put a quick slide up with actually the Man City versus Arsenal lineups. I'll quickly read these out for the podcast views and maybe call out any individuals you want to discuss as well. So just have a look here. So on the Man City side, they lined up with Edison in goal, back four of Walker, Diaz, Akanji, and Guardiola. So no Rico Lewis this time out. Rodri in midfield, who obviously had to go off in the 21st minute with an injury. So Kovacic replaced him. And then you got Savinho, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Doku with Haaland up top. On the Arsenal side, we've got Raya in goal with an interesting change that I didn't see coming, but I know Clayton had talked up, which was Timber and Calafiori as the right back and left back, with Saliba and Gabriel, whilst Ben White made way for the bench. We then have Saka and Martinelli on the wings, with Partey and Rice in the middle, and Trossard and Havertz almost playing as a front two, the way we were off the ball. Second half was a different story. It looked like we were more of a 6-3 formation with just no forward at all. And yeah, that one was, I think we'll come on to the second half. But before that happened, how did you kind of feel the game was going in the first half? Obviously, they took the lead with the Haaland strike. What did you think? Do you think that was too easy for him, or he's just a physical specimen and he somehow did what he did to two of the best centre backs in the league?
I think we started a little bit sloppy, to be fair, at the start of the game. The first 15 minutes, I think they were quite open. The run through, I think Calafiori made a mistake. I think he got a bit too close to Savinho, who managed to turn him on the halfway line and put Haaland through quite easily. Obviously, Gabriel had went to close off that left back space, so Haaland just had all that space free. And when I watched the replay, I just was watching Haaland, and at no point did he watch where the ball was when he was running. He was just watching what Ria was doing coming out. So I think he knew the second he got past Gabriel where he was putting that ball, and it was a very good finish. And just after the first 15 minutes, I think we actually started to grow into the game and started fizzing. I noticed we're fizzing the ball from the right wing to Martinelli constantly. So it kind of felt like we're trying to force him to come to the right-hand side to mark Saka and to free up the left-hand side to hopefully give us more space. And that's obviously where our goal came from on the equaliser as well. So, yeah, very good first half by the end of it, but the start of it, yeah, was a bit sloppy.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. I do feel that very early on we did get our chances to obviously show our set piece prowess. So there was the initial delivery. I thought that was just as good from Saka, laid on the plate for Gabriel, but not quite enough in it, and it obviously went over the bar. So to see him kind of make the second corner in the exact same laser homing missile precision, I think it's underestimated the ability to get that ball to his man both times.
Fantastic deliveries. And I thought, even on the first one, I thought Gabriel could have left it for Havertz, who might have had an easier header from him. But it just shows that teams are obviously expecting us to score from corners, and they're very much fearing what we do. I thought the VAR check for the goal was a bit of a joke, to be fair. I didn't see any sort of foul from Martinelli other than he just literally stood his ground on the line. So they'll have to come up with a new rule to try and stop us scoring from corners.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it genuinely does feel like our players and the opposition players all feel like they know that we could score from any corner. Like it's just psychologically, I can't imagine it's a great place to be in for most opposition. So I'm proud we've unlocked that in our locker. In terms of right at the beginning, actually, just kind of going back a bit from those two moments for us in our favor and the Haaland goal. What did you think like 4 or 5 seconds in when the whistle blew again and they were kind of looking at Rodri rolling around?
Didn't see anything wrong with it. You see that sort of thing happen constantly on the pitch, but kind of felt like the City team wanted to get the ref on their side straight away, really. Just like first touch you take, make sure you go down, make the most of it, just to try and rile the Arsenal players up. That's kind of what it felt like. Neville was saying that there was an arm raise and stuff like that. I was like, no, just Rodri steps into, yeah. Rodri steps into him and Havertz just stands his ground. It's like nothing happened really. So, but Rodri likes to go down quite easily from when I've watched him before. So,
I think there's definitely a dislike from him about Arsenal as a whole, as can be portrayed in many of his media interviews. But yeah, so day and night difference for them. I think obviously him going off in the 21st minute, that almost is the part where we stop maybe being as sloppy as you said you felt at the beginning of the game, and actually like it looked like we were really showing up to play, and we looked quite a bit different from the last time we were at the Etihad back in, I think it was March. So yeah, it's a lot to take away. 2-2, we take that all day. I think it's a big shock for me as well to see obviously Bukayo Saka coming off to make way after the Trossard incident, but maybe we talk about the incident. So we get in at halftime. You know, we've had the 2 goals. Maybe we should talk about Calafiori as well before we move on to the main stats. So I think the players we're going to talk about, Calafiori, what a goal. I just, the way he took it, right?
There was the way his body shaped it. I was like, I didn't expect the shot, but at no point did I think that's going in. The way it was curling, it obviously just managed to just avoid Edison and took just perfectly inside the far post. It's just everything went in. The celebration was equally as good as the goal, running straight up to Arteta. Just shows how much the players love him.
He looked like a giant amongst them. When I was watching it, I kind of felt like I was watching something like Lord of the Rings and like one of the taller races, like the Elven race, or someone who's like towering over Gimli or something. Yeah, it's just what a big, strong team we've built. Very different to what I'm used to at Arsenal, and I think that kind of went into the second half. So obviously we saw Saka getting subbed off. Hopefully he'll be fresh for the next game. So that, you know, we decided we're just going to defend. About 15, 20 minutes into the second half, I could see that, you know, they'd ultimately had something like 24 shots by this stage and we'd had none. So it was very clear what we were going to do and just try to defend. It was that 6-3 formation we were talking about. Another interesting stat we saw, and I think I want to ask you about this, is obviously Kai Havertz. He was almost a bus driver driving the bus that we were parking over the back line. So I think I saw in 7 seasons of the Premier League, it's the first time it's recorded someone played 90 minutes and didn't complete a pass. So that's why I'm talking about the bus driver. I almost feel like he led that pack at the front. Just to, like, park the bus.
There was no outlet from obviously the start of the second half. So really there was no one he could actually play any sort of through ball to, but he obviously led the defensive line all the way through. He took back into the middle beside Partey and Rice and led obviously the wall that were needed that whole second half. Bodies and limbs on the line.
I'm concerned. It's still a funny stat, but I think it's the context of what we had to do, the mission we had to complete, right? Yeah, so I was very surprised to see that happen with that substitution, of course. We then had a couple of injuries to finish off the game, so a few players got subbed off. We saw kind of Jesus come on to see out the game. We saw Timber go off. We saw Calafiori go off. You know, Ben White had come on. So is there anything in terms of, I guess, Martinelli as well? He looked like he took a bit of a hit on his way down. So I think all 3 players who went off, apart from this halftime sub of Saka, looked like they were kind of taking knocks or getting injured, or, you know, it was not sure what you thought. Do you think they were just like knocks from the intensity of this week, the 3 away games?
Possibly. I didn't really see the Calafiori one, but Timber looked like he was hobbling when he came off, and obviously Martinelli was, I think he said he was struggling with cramp, and the ref just wouldn't allow any sort of stops in the play with the cramp. So obviously the next best thing was just sub him off and you to try and burn some time a different way. So that's when Jesus came on board. But hopefully, I hope they're all just all minor issues, and maybe it's just the stress of the 3 games back to back, all being away. Just needed to get them off the pitch and bring some fresh legs on.
What did you think of Miles Lewis-Skelly coming on as well? So obviously an interesting cameo as well. He got thrown straight into the fire.
I love the fact he squared up to Haaland at the end, despite obviously Haaland asking him who he was. But yeah, it's a very big game to get your first experience in, and I think obviously Arteta must have done that, bearing in mind obviously the run of games and the injuries we have. He must be getting some more minutes coming up, so get some of the fire into him from the rest of the team from that defensive performance will hopefully put him in good stead for the next few weeks whilst we need him.
Yeah, I think definitely in terms of the Bolton game, I'd be very interested to see who starts that one on Wednesday. Quick couple of shout outs as well before we go on. So we got Tommy Gunn in the chat. Evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. We got Clayton on his way home from the pub, up the fucking Arsenal. He's going to listen tomorrow. We got Tiger and Guna. Love from Australia. Gutted but proud of the boys. And we've got Bolton next. Yeah, so I think we'll definitely think about Bolton and who's going to start there. But it will be nice to see Lewis Skelly and even Ethan Nwaneri both get starts in that. If we can get a few of the youngsters a run out and hopefully they show something to then claim more minutes in the actual league itself.
Yeah, and obviously, hopefully Trossard should play that game now. Obviously, he's going to be suspended for the next league game. So what I would like to see is a full rotated 11, but whether we can do that at the moment is a different story. Definitely rest David Raya, bring Neto on, let him play.
I think just to Tiger's point, yeah, I think definitely you got to take the point, right, and settle for it. But it was just an unbelievable performance. We almost came, close to winning there for the first time since 2015 with 10 men for an entire half. And we just looked like a completely different team from the soft underbelly Arsenal I'd been used to seeing over the years. And, obviously we didn't take our chance to go top of the league here and now, but we're 5 games in, out of 38. Like, it's all to play for. Champions League's only just begun. Like, there's a lot to happen yet. There's a lot of football to play. So I'm not too concerned. And, we take this. Like, end of the day, we got our draw here. Now we just got to make sure we continue on and start.
City's last drop points at home were against us as well. So it just goes to show the level they do play at for us to be the only team that can actually go there and get something out of it.
13 wins in that time before they played us. Yeah.
And it's our first 2 conceded goals away from home since New Year's Eve last year. So
I think it's the first time we were trailing this season.
Yeah.
Like, not even this season, just like away from home, first time trailing like in the whole of this calendar year. And we're in, it's nearly October.
And obviously Tiger and Gunnar I think he puts it perfectly. That we can be good, but absolutely that's proud of the performance at the point today.
Absolutely. There was a lot of cards in this game as well. I think both sides received their fair share. We didn't really talk too much about the Trossard card and the suspension, obviously. I do think it feels a bit stupid to me, obviously, knowing that the increased scrutiny on us to, not do things like that. So I can't really complain too much, but it is always frustrating. And all I ever ask for is consistency. And, I remember thinking just a few minutes before in the same game when Docker kicked it away and delayed a restart, wasn't given anything. And it's almost comical at this stage. Like, every game I see this happening. Like, it happened last game as well, right? For Saliba, it happened in the Brighton game, obviously. It just feels like, I honestly don't understand. It's just sheer incompetence.
And even Neville at the time, it says, Docker's kicked the ball away, surely should be getting carded, and nothing came of it. And then obviously Trossard, it's silly, and he knows what's going to happen the second he kicks that ball away as well. I don't believe there was any that the ref blew. Like, as soon as he kicked the ball, there was a little bit of a gap, and he could have stopped doing it, and he could have been a bit more clever with what he was doing. So, put in a tough spot.
So yeah, no, I was just saying absolutely. But yeah, you're right. What can you do? Despite all that, we played incredibly well under pressure, and I think it's a good time to put up the data from MarkStatsBot on X as well. So I'll just timestamp this for the podcast listeners. About 14 minutes in, if you're looking to see these visuals. So this is the match stats plus the cumulative expected threat and the cumulative expected goals throughout the 90. So Man City 2-2, obviously, with Arsenal. The XG for Man City was 2.97 on this model to 1.14 for Arsenal. Expected threat of 2.49 for Man City to 0.93. Possession of 78% almost for Man City to 22% for Arsenal. A field tilt I've never seen, 95% in Man City's favour, 5% in Arsenal's. And the defensive action height of 52 versus 37. So the field tilt, this is like just unheard of. It means they spent like 95% of the time in our third. compared to the amount of time we spent in their final third. So this is kind of crazy in itself, how we managed to almost get 1 minute away from winning, 30 seconds away from winning, right? What are your thoughts on this? Like visually, I guess, for the podcast views, it's good to talk it through, because you can almost see that we were, from a kind of cumulative XG point of view, not really doing much, right? And then the goals we get, they're the kind of like the two spikes in the XG, as well as the initial Gabriel miss from the header, which was just before the first corner, right? And then the second corner he scores. After the red card, there's only one other incident where it's like a small 0.2 or 0.1 XG jump from us. But beyond that, that is the only shot that happens from half time through to full time. Like one, I think it was the breakaway when Havertz tried to get through Edison. Edison's strong. I think that was it. That's what the XG is from. So that was like the only opportunity in the entire second half. Yeah, how did you feel then? I guess, do you feel the data here? Like, is it representative? You see, up until that red card, we were just about above them on the expected threat cumulative, and it was a kind of neck and neck, and they just continued to kind of take it away from there afterwards.
Yeah, it shows how the first half, how we did grow into the game as well, especially after Rodri came off. It does show, obviously, that spike from like 35 minutes. But yeah, in the second half, it just goes to show how well drilled we are as a defensive unit as well. 95% field tilt to hold on for, was it 52 minutes or something before they managed to get through and score. Just I don't think any other tactic really would have give us any chance of coming out of that game with any sort of result, never mind a draw. So I think we've done the right thing. Doesn't look great on paper, but at the end of the day, that's what we've got to do to compete with these to win a title.
Absolutely. And obviously it was a backs against the wall kind of performance that entire half. And I think there was a few opportunities I saw, but they mainly seemed to drop to kind of players you wouldn't want on the ball. So I almost feel like that was by design. And when we kind of look at this graphic as well, the ball progression by pass and carry, Diaz is obviously up there with a 5 progression by a carry and almost 8 from passes. And with him are the likes of Akanji and Walker and Kovacic. You kind of can see here, there isn't really much going on. It's all very much the defenders or the defensive midfielders who were allowing to kind of have those balls. And it almost felt like it was a bit slow at times from City.
It almost felt
what did you think?
It felt like a lot of the shots were from quite a distance out. Like they couldn't really move our defenders to free up any sort of space to get any fantastic opportunities off it. Obviously, the XG says that they built up almost 2 XG in the second half, but it feels like most of that must have been accumulative rather than any clear-cut opportunities, other than obviously I think Haaland's header halfway through, and that was the only one where I thought actually they might score here. But yeah, it's, I think most of the shots, I might have seen it wrong, but it felt like most of the shots came from Diaz on the edge of the box, whereas Foden, if Foden had been there, they might have had better opportunities. Maybe they were hoping for second balls to drop from deflections to get the goals, but yeah, I didn't think they were going to score until they did score.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Quick couple more shout outs as we go. Christopher Tellez, hey gents, still feeling pretty down because of that ending to the game, but so damn proud of the players and the coaches. Fought for it and put in a serious effort considering the circumstances up the Arsenal. So yeah, so totally agree with you there, Christopher. Good to see you here for the review of the game, raw as it happened. I think one thing, and then we'll go and talk more about player by player. I'd love to just ask about a few players and how you felt they got on and any new tactics you think we might be able to employ now that we've seen the first ever kind of Ben White benching in a long time. Yeah, so this is more to do with the first half and second half and the kind of stark contrast between them. So this was from City Extra's account. It was the second half stats in isolation and then kind of the full-time stats for comparison. So interestingly, you can see that the second half was kind of 28 shots from Man City to our 1, 9 shots on target to our 1, 3 big chances to 0, 390 passes with a 94% accuracy to 31 passes with a 52% accuracy. And then you kind of look at that and you're like, wow, like it is wild that we were almost there, like 30 seconds away. Like the shift we put in, because it doesn't feel like much was happening with those. Like 9 out of 28 on target. Some of those 9 would have been from outside the box too. So it was just mainly a lot of shots that kind of felt like they weren't going to threaten. And Raya was making fantastic saves. So obviously some of those shots were pretty good ones. And he made some incredible saves again, proving how important he's been this season. But when you compare it to the full-time stats, it's not too dissimilar. So even like when we were doing well and had the extra man, like, you know, you can see obviously like it's not as bad. Like it's kind of like 5 big chances to 2. So obviously in the first half, we both made 2 big chances each. So it just felt a bit more even than what you see in terms of chance creation and threat from Arsenal. There was non-existent in the second half. But it was a plan, right? We were already ahead. We were a man down. We just had to do what we had to do. And it almost got executed. And I think in that we'll take a kind of confidence going into our future games. We've got 2 home games coming up in the league, Bolton at home in between. I'm hoping that you feel that we kind of got through the toughest games this week with the 3 away games, and now we can kind of get back into a flow and just focus on ourselves and play some big games.
Yeah, absolutely. When the Premier League fixtures first came out, we looked at those first 5 games and it was like, that's a very tough run. What are we going to do with obviously the strongest available squad? And I think 10 points at the start of the season out of those 5 games would have been acceptable, but we've got more than that. We're still undefeated as well, including the Champions League away game in the middle of it. So I think from here, obviously it's a chance to rotate, get some freshness back into legs as well, and obviously focus on getting maximum points now from the next run of games.
Absolutely. So let's go back to the players photo, I think, because I'd love to actually just talk through a few of the players one by one. But so Tommy Gunn's second half was a tough watch, and expect us to go nuts against Leicester. I hope so. Tiger and Guna. All right, lads, I'm off to bed. I'll listen on replay. Keep up the great work, guys. When are you live streaming again? So yeah, thank you so much. Good luck with work tomorrow and everything, of course. I will be back on Friday to preview the Leicester game, and then obviously on the Sunday to review it. So I'll be kind of doing we've just done our schedule today. We're going to be doing every Friday a preview, and then also every Sunday a review, apart from the Liverpool home game, which is a late Sunday kickoff. So we'll probably do a Monday review for that one. I know Clayton will be doing some previews and reviews of most of the Champions League games as well on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So do check those out, Tiger and Guna or anyone else. Like if you're new to the channel, you know, we're about 30 minutes in almost. It's the first time I'm going to say, please do subscribe if you're new around here, and you can keep up with the rest of the content coming. But yeah, let's go into these individual players. Is there anyone from either side, I guess, Man City or Arsenal, you want to talk about? We talked about Raya, Havertz, the goal scorers. Anything about Thomas Partey, Declan Rice?
I haven't been Martinelli's biggest fan for the past, I would say, season and a half. I've been quite vocal with how bad his decision-making's been in the final third when he manages to break through. But I think the past 2 games, I think the confidence seems to be coming back. He seems to be looking up a bit more. And obviously managed to play the pass back to Calafiori for the assist. So I'm hoping that this is the start of Martinelli finding his feet again and getting those returns. I think it was his first attacking return, and using FPL words, in 18 games. So it's good to see that he's obviously finding some form again. From the City side, I think Savinho definitely scared me at the start of the game. When he went through, it looked like a Mahrez regen when he went past Calafiori. So he's definitely one to watch. I think he's going to have a little bit of a bright future ahead of him.
Absolutely. In terms of just anyone I want to call out real quick as well. So I did feel that Bernardo Silva and Gundogan, it kind of felt like, you know, they were rolling back the years, like seeing them with Walker, Diaz. I just felt like there's this core of experience still within this Man City team as a whole that we're kind of maybe not lacking necessarily, but we don't have available right now. I guess there are some injuries as well. But I said before the game that, you know, this was a game that if we were going to miss Odegaard, I wouldn't be so concerned. Like if there was ever, like obviously I want him to play every game, but if there was a game away from home against Man City, a kind of not possession-based game for Arsenal, I was okay with this, even though he's the leader of our press. I think Trossard and Havertz did a great job. I think that they were kind of, until the red card, they were leading that press fine. And when we went 2-1 up, I was starting to dream like, oh, will we get a third before halftime? It was
Mhm.
really, we suddenly came into an ascendancy, and it's just a shame that such a stupid incident would take away what could have been, a spectacle to remember, which it was anyway. But it was one of the most entertaining games for neutral, I think, and it wasn't the boring chess match everyone thought it would be. And that's kind of the next thing I was going to ask you about. How did you see it comparing to what you expected going into it?
I think we were definitely a lot more attacking in the first half than I was expecting us to be. I thought we would see something more defensive like last season's game, to be honest. So to see, especially without Odegaard, I thought we'd sit back more and try to play a more counter-attacking game. But obviously, as we grew into it, we did start playing our normal football. I thought Declan Rice had a better performance than what his ratings given him there. I can definitely remember at least 2 sliding tackles he made, which stopped City's attacks where I thought they might be through. One on Bernardo Silva in the first half, and I'm fairly confident one of them was on the edge of our own box in the second half. So, yeah, I definitely think some of those ratings are a lot lower than what I would definitely have scored up as.
I think one thing worth noting is I think the FOTMob score ratings as well, they're season long, I believe, unless this one specifically has given me just for the match. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, we don't really take account of those. So if you're listening on podcasts, you might have even heard the score ratings because they're just kind of separate to maybe how we feel the game went. They're very much data driven, right? So like you complete a load of crosses, you might have a high number and you miss one big chance and suddenly you got a low number. It's almost like the bonus points in the Fantasy Premier League. We got another comment here from Tommy Gunn, which I think it's worth a little discussion as well. 7 points from Villa away, Tottenham away, and City away. Great start to this season. I think, yeah, what more can you ask for, right? Like, I'm pretty confident. Like, imagine we drawn against Villa away, 1 City. Like, people said we were lucky to keep a clean sheet versus Villa. Like, kind of all evens out, right? Like, I'm not too concerned about where we are at this stage. I don't know about you, but it doesn't. Like, I'm not concerned about this result. Like we said, like no one wins here. Like the last win at the Etihad was nearly 600 days ago in the league. So by anyone.
When you take everything into context of viewing it as this is a season-long game, this was a must not lose rather than a must win. We did everything we had to do, despite everything that was thrown at us: injuries, suspensions, red cards. We came away from a result which no other team can say they've done. So we'll have to be very happy with what we've done.
And we still try to go unbeaten. Hopefully we can make a change of what's been happening in the domestic cups as well by getting through to the next round, even if there is some rotation. I'm just going to put, I guess I'm going to timestamp this as part of the Q&A as well, because this is, we've been kind of answering people's questions. So I'll just put this as a reminder to myself. So if anyone who asked questions and went to bed, I think as well, like Tiger and Guna, they're looking to come back and catch these bits. It's the 28th minute. But I also see some comments on Twitter, I guess, because this is kind of live chat and Twitter. But Tommy, Christopher, anyone in the chat, do get in any questions you have as well for Bobby and I as well. Look to actually kind of get out if you're in an early one tonight, hopefully in 40-45 minutes. We've got a bit of time. We're going to chat more about the game now, but just getting those pre-warnings in for the Q&A so we can get that underway. So I've got a quote from Riccardo Calafiori. Referees have to do their job to keep the game good to watch. This kind of action, they don't have to put themselves too much. Leo didn't even hear the whistle. Come on, you have to do your job. You know, when you look in the context of common sense, which you would think referees are supposed to do, and the same referee didn't give Kovacic a red card because he wanted to keep the game flowing and have, 11v11 at the Etihad last time. You got to question it. And then it's, 52nd minute of 6 minutes of extra time in the first half. Maybe he's heard it, maybe he's not. You can see he kind of tries to pull out, so he doesn't fully boot it. That makes me think maybe he's heard it. But either way, like, you just think to yourself, okay, like, maybe he thought it was the whistle for half time. It's at the 52nd, 53rd minute at this stage.
I think
but you need to do that. Like, I also blame Trossard, but as a referee, you have a choice here.
Yeah, we know what the Premier League referees are like, and just to give them a decision really is not going to play into our favour. I think when you compare it to the referee we had on Thursday at Atlanta, like you didn't notice we had a referee in the game. So, but every Premier League game, not just ourselves, but every game in the league, referees seem to take the primary focus away from the two teams that are on the pitch. So, I think the players should be a bit more clever and think, you know what, they're going to do something stupid. Let's not give them a chance to ruin our game.
I think, agreed. I think overall, I've seen a lot of rival hate as well about how they're glad there was an equaliser because, we didn't deserve it because of the anti-football we played. I think we understand context, and I'm not going to be too concerned about that. Are you?
I know I got sent bottled jokes and stuff like that already, and I was like, I haven't replied to any of the messages. I'm calm.
There's no point even biting. That's what I'm starting.
No, that's what they're looking for. It's like, no, we've got the result I wanted before the game, and up until 30 seconds before the end of the game, we're going to get more. So we could have had a win, but it's really City that should be disappointed. They were celebrating an equaliser like a winner. So
yeah, so didn't Rodri have something to say? Didn't Rodri have something to say about celebrating draws before the game? They celebrated like they won the title with that equaliser.
Yeah. They celebrated at full time as well. So, like I said, we did everything we needed to do. We didn't get beaten. We're still 5 games in the season, playing 3 of last season's top 4 away from home with 7 points from 9. So, yeah, we're still in a very good position, and we've got nothing we can really be upset about.
True. Yeah, I think we've got to just forget the commentators, forget them. Even with the incident with Rice, we still see weeks later they're talking about it in the media. Like, they all just want clicks in our reaction and to see how we feel about how the game's gone. But we're doing fantastic. We've gone unbeaten so far this season, but there's nothing to be concerned about. And the good run's going to start. Now, there's a few kind of concerns fitness-wise. Obviously, the players that went off, we talked about already. But I'm now seeing kind of commentary on Twitter about the likes of Raya limping through the tunnel, and that White had played through an injury and he's a warrior and would fight for us. So it's all making me much more convinced. I'm not going to be dropping my head is the main thing I'm getting at. Like, I still think despite all this that we have some serious team spirit and a very well coached team, and I think we'll come back from this, and we'll keep getting better and keep getting stronger.
And compared to last season, Arteta's making a lot more earlier subs. Obviously, the Saka one today was enforced, but Saka's obviously got a 45-minute rest. He's hopefully be rested against Bolton as well. So we're seeing a lot. Hopefully, we'll see by the end of the season a lot more freshness in the legs of the players as well. So that's probably going to be just as big as keeping level with City going into the run-in at the end of the season.
Absolutely. And just one thing that I've seen that infuriates me more about this 52nd minute sending off is there's a frame just when the whistle's blown, and you can see Trossard's essentially playing the ball into space for Martinelli on the break. There's like half a second between the whistle being blown and Trossard touching the ball. They're saying don't be brainwashed by false narratives. That's a @1 greatest on X. Pretty funny. But yeah, I don't think you can call that delaying a restart if he's literally in the middle of creating an attack.
Yeah, I think the bigger issue is if Doku's wasn't delaying a restart, how can you say any Rice's?
It's the lack of consistency we care for. I think we both agree, based on what we've seen thus far, we can expect that you give them a decision to send you off, and they'll send you off. But yeah, no, I think a couple of Christopher Teller's comments. Let's get these up as well, and we'll see what Christopher thinks. So Christopher's talking about the game as well this week in terms of rotation, leaning on nicely from the injury conversation we were just having. So hope Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly get to start against Bolton. Christopher says Sterling as well, and a shame that Neto can't play for us in the cup since he's already played for Bournemouth.
Didn't realise that.
Yeah, so that's quite annoying as well. Obviously, if you're talking about Raya limping through the tunnel and you can't play the reserve goalkeeper you brought because he's cup tied, it's pretty frustrating. But
is it too early for? Is it Tommy Setford? Is it too?
I think you should throw him in.
Early for do you think? I mean,
if Raya's got a knock, then there's no choice, right?
Yeah. Well, we want a cup win, don't we? So.
Yeah. So hopefully Raya doesn't have a knock and he does just play, right? But I think obviously worst case Neto's not an option, which is not ideal. Is exactly what we were hoping wouldn't happen. So Christopher says the fact that we're getting more flack than Man City for that result is hilarious. Imagine if we nicked the draw against 10 men at home. We'd be getting crucified if we nicked the draw with 10 men at home in the last minute.
I think the stat before was City only had 3 big chances in that second half.
Yeah.
Imagine playing 10 men for a full 45 minutes and only having 3 big chances as the best team in the world. City should be getting peppered more than we are, but obviously it's Arteta's terrorist ball that everyone will focus on because it's the easy clicks.
That's what it is. So it almost feels like they're just out there to say whatever they can now to drive outrage from us. So I got to get better at just being proud of the boys and not rising up to it. So Tommy says about Tommy Setford. In fact, he did all right on our summer tour. I think that's who he's talking about. So
and hopefully, yeah, he can get some minutes and Rhea gets a rest because I think it's everyone across the full 11 needs really to be rotated going into the game midweek and focus on Leicester and a big win.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? We almost want to just get through Bolton, we get our win, and we try to rest as many legs as we can. I would rather we're sending players on for like 20, 30 minutes to shore it up, like than actually starting with them for 60, 70 and then subbing them out. I still think we'll probably see a core of at least maybe 7 of the main starters in that 11. That would be lucky if there was 4 subs, right?
Yeah, good to see Kivior get minutes today, so hopefully Kivior can play Calafiori and Timber, not wrist. And yeah, definitely the 2 youngsters up front and give Saka a rest as well, and hopefully see some Sterling minutes up front along with Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus and Sterling start would be nice to see, wouldn't it? I need them to start getting minutes in their legs.
Yeah, definitely.
Need them to start contributing, not just in the dressing room, but also on the pitch.
It'll be good to see Sterling break into the first team as well. I think to put some pressure on, like say Martinelli, and obviously with Trossard suspended now, it gives him an even better opportunity to see some minutes with the lads as well. So
very true. I think we're pretty much done. We want a quick review today, but before we go, Bobby, is there anything you wanted to kind of cover that maybe you felt like we didn't? I feel like it's almost like there's so little to talk about tactically because that red card just kind of changed all tactics and it just became a kitchen sink behind the goal line kind of performance where we proved we can defend against one of the best to ever do it and almost held on to that victory.
No, I think the only thing really is I thought with Calafiori coming in, maybe Gabriel's spot in that team was going to be at risk and Saliba was the only lock. But the more we go into this season, Gabriel's just locking down that spot more and more for me, and especially that threat from corners. I think Tottenham fans say a team getting a corner against them is like getting a penalty. I think Arsenal fans need to start saying a corner for us is almost like a penalty now as well. So
I love that as a nice way to get us out of here. Actually, that's a good thought to keep. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed the match. I hope you are happy as we are. I know there'll be many, both from rival fans and our own fan base, who are not happy with the result, and that's understandable. But don't let them get to you. At least feel unhappy because it's your perspective, not because of being gaslit by rival fans if you can. Because they're all going to come for us and hunt for us. Most of them, apart from Man City, really, there's no team that I think that's going to go toe-to-toe with us this year. And today really made me believe in this team more than before, even if that seems like a crazy thing to say.
Perfect performance.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, guys. Good to see everyone in the chat as well live. If you're watching back, please do hit that like button if you enjoyed it, if you found it entertaining or laughed or cried with us. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you for the next show. As I say, we do one every Friday to preview the Premier League game, one every Sunday to review them. And there's also the kind of previews and reviews of the Champions League games that Clayton's been doing solo pods on, very quick and snappy. But yeah, we were the Arsenal Bite Size podcast. We've had our special guest at BobbyLoveFPL on X. I'm, of course, FPL Nima, and we're going to get out of here. But until then, up the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. And Bobby, hopefully we'll see you back soon.
Yeah, see you, catch you soon. Thank you.
Come on, you Gunners.